Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 12th episode of Coffee with Ashish Season 2. And today we are so privileged and honored to have with us Managing Director of African Link Travel, Mrs. Bunny Bhoola, with us. Welcome, Ms. Bhoola. We are really excited to have you with us today. There was a lot of build up towards this session because I know many of our audience members have always been asking us that, beyond India, what's happening around the world in travel. And, we had few weeks back, Petrek from the UK and other international guests as well. But I think Africa has, always generated a lot of interest because everybody is looking forward to what's happening in Africa. And with the current pandemic also, I think the response of Africa towards this pandemic was very interesting. And we were all looking for answers in terms of what's really happening in Africa. So I think we would really get all the answers today in this session. And who better than Ms. Bunny Bhoola to help us navigate through this really exciting and interesting continent. She has well established herself as an inspirational women leader in the travel industry, which has been so predominantly, male dominated, but she has really carved a niche for her in this domain. She is the managing director of African Link Travel and has been on various boards and represents travel industry in Africa on various levels and forums. She started with traditional DMC operations work and then started to expand towards international MICE and government programs. She has participated on a national level on many tourism associations, SATSA and SITE, and she has also served on various tourism boards like Tourism of KwaZulu Natal Sharks Board, Black Economic Business Council as an advisory to the National Minister. Apart from work, she also pursues her passion, and she is very focused on following the footprints of Gandhi and Mandela, resulting in the freedom route, and she's very passionate about that. And she's also been involved in the Mandela Youth Leadership Summit and Women's Exclusive event, and she does a lot of mentoring for startups and entrepreneurs as well. And her daughter is also an entrepreneur, Kasha, and also a dear friend of ours in the Startup Mentor board. So we're really excited to have you with us today, Ms. Vani Bhula. A warm welcome to you on our show. And I'm going to request Ashish to have a conversation with you in terms of what's happening and what are your vision around travel industry going forward in the African continent. Give us a view of the world from your lens. So I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting conversation. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Karthik, and welcome, Bunny. And I need not tell the audience about the alignment known as BRICS, where S was added later on. So it itself gives the importance what South Africa holds as far as this global power and alignments are concerned, and especially with India, although I don't know how long the C will stay in that BRICS. But coming back to you specifically, I have a double-barrel question. First, tell us about the global source markets for South Africa. How have they been, of course, impacted during these times? And what has South Africa Tourism and yourself done particularly to significantly keep ahead of the markets? So it's two questions in one.
Well, thank you so much, firstly, for having me on the show. It's a real privilege to be sitting with you guys on such a special time in our festive season. So compliments of the season to you guys, firstly. And Karthik, thank you so much for this excellent background you've given of me. You're too kind. That's not really necessary. I think I'm just very fortunate that I'm being able to work with my passion and work in an arena where I can promote South African highlights and work with my partners in India and in other global destinations so that we have forged relationships and developed, I think, sustainable tourism in our country.
Right.
So, Ashish, it's really, thank you for your questions. South Africa's source markets, primarily are Europe. You'd find UK, France, the Holland, and the USA. Those are our primary source markets. Of course, our secondary source market is being viewed very, very carefully by South African tourism and by the government. That is namely India. India is being viewed very as an important source market, not only because of BRICS, but more primarily because we also have a huge NRI grouping that are traveling regularly through to India. So those are our source markets. And of course, South Africa has first world infrastructure, and we're the economic gateway to Africa, as we have we have the largest port in Africa, that is the city of Durban. Our impact coming to you, Ashish, during the COVID period, like everything else, devastating. People are absolutely heartsore. At this stage, we have the Western Cape and the Garden Route that has such severe restrictions. COVID is running rife in the Garden Route, which is one of our key highlights in South Africa. To be on lockdown during this festive season, when normally you cannot get a restaurant, cannot get accommodation. People are grappling totally with this. I think the devastation is being seen globally, but on a local level in South Africa, it's really sad to see our counterparts who have put so much of effort and energy over the years, especially in the Garden Route, that these are people that have nurtured and mentored me, and now they're at a stage where life has become really challenging, and we are going to see changes in the way tourism is going to be diversified to accommodate COVID, or we might even be losing a lot of skilled people that will venture out into other industries. Because we're starting to see a slow movement of people going into other industries. Survival is becoming a challenge now in tourism. So I think, Ashish, what I'm saying applies to all countries globally at this stage. I don't think there's any country that can state that they're not being affected by COVID.
Yeah, talking about effect, I can't imagine what Sun City looked like, because my last memories when I went to the place was vibrancy, people around. I stayed at the palace, I remember, and you can imagine
Okay.
it looking deserted now. That would
I
tell
don't
another
think so.
story.
I don't think so. It's so deserted. Domestic tourism is in certain areas is very strong. People are wanting to go out. People want to enjoy themselves. Of course, the hotels are taking all the precautions and all protocols are being observed. And you won't get that hustle and that bustle of Sun City. But people are there.
Hmm.
I think people are getting a little bit restless and tired.
Yes,
They want to enjoy the festive season. They are a bit afraid also of COVID, but the braver ones are venturing out.
right.
Because we see,
Yeah.
sorry,
No,
carry
no,
on.
go on.
No, we're seeing there's a lot of movement this week specifically in domestic tourism.
We learn of new phases during these COVID times, and COVID fatigue is one of them. So I think we've all been affected in some manner by it. But coming back, and you mentioned about being lucky to be able to chase your passion and dreams in travel and tourism. Let's just go back. It's in your DNA. Let's go back to your brother Maharaj. He started off setting up a coach company, which is now, I believe, a 50 vehicles strong. Partnership with Greyhound. I mean, that's a lot to speak about. So, tell us more about this, and what was the role it plays in providing a backbone to you and tourism in South Africa?
Ashish, I think The Mirage family in South Africa has tourism in their blood.
Mm.
My grandfather started the first coach company at least 70 years ago.
All right.
And we now 4 generations. It's been my grandfather, my father took over, my brother is currently running it, and his son is who, at one stage we thought the younger generation will not get involved. And now they're seeing the merits of it. So it's a 4 generation business that is very well established in the country. And I must say that the success of the coach business influencing tourism in South Africa, especially, is because my brother is very hands on. He can be a driver, he can be a mechanic, he can be the CEO, and he can be the visionary at one stage. And that has been, I think, translated from generations to all of us, because I find that even with me, unless I'm not hands-on involved in something, there's no joy.
Right.
And
right.
it's only when you're hands-on, then you're seeing the proper outcomes of what you envision.
Right. No,
So
no, surviving, what I was saying, surviving over a period of 70 years and a family found business is saying something, because many of the Indian companies which started at about the same time, family run, didn't. Either they shut down or they sold out to other multinational companies and so on.
True. I think a lot of family-owned businesses have done excellent succession planning, but the call of the world has, I think, taken away a lot of the young people to other parts of the world. And we're very fortunate thus far in our family that the younger generation that are coming in with creative and innovative ideas, new cutting edge technologies, so that they will start applying it to the business. And I think they are going to invigorate and give the businesses new life, which specifically for our coach company has happened, because we're the first Indian company that has the largest fleet of coaches in South Africa, and our coaches are now running cross-border into Southern Africa. So you would be able to see coaches in Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Namibia. So that is one of the benefits of the younger generation coming in and influencing business to a more positive level. And once again, it comes back to Karthik, when you spoke about Africa, Africa has so much of opportunities, so much of potential. And this is what we are seeing with the coach business going into Africa.
Right. So yeah. So you talked about cutting edge. Let's go back specifically to Africa Link, which actually is a full-fledged travel agency. I mean, listeners may be thinking it to be a DMC or a coach company, but you've gone beyond it as a full-fledged. So what's the cutting edge technology, and how have the younger generation or you yourself or others kept pace with it to be contemporary today and to survive another 70 years from now?
Ashish, I think, Indian people, wherever they are in the world, will diversify. Our DNA is such that we will always be exploring. We're not satisfied. And that's what's exciting about being involved in the tourism industry. So DMC work is normal, good business, but pretty mundane. But I'm very involved in tourism development, which I find becomes sustainable, where you're drawing in the local communities and you're looking at the highlights of certain icons or highlights of certain attractions in the areas, and you start incorporating it into your programs. So your programs start getting more unique, more for the niche client that wants something special. And of course, at this stage, why would a client come to you? They can get everything on the internet. Unless you're a specialist, it's exactly like a GP. If you're ordinary, you can go to the pharmacy and get your medication. But if you need specialized services, you will seek that. And that's where I found that I've been fortunate enough, through my passion, I have specialized in the tourism industry. And I think that's what kept me alive in the business world. Because the business arena, as you know, in any country is so, unless you don't develop your own USP, why would people come back to you?
Correct, correct.
They won't come back to you. So I found that I've been very fortunate. I live in a city called Pietermaritzburg. Now, Pietermaritzburg, Ashish and Karthik, I must say, I firmly believe it's the center of the world for democracy. No city can claim in the world to have Gandhi and Mandela having their footprints in one city. The railway station in Pietermaritzburg, where Gandhi started his global influence. And 15 minutes away from the railway station is the Mandela capture site where Mandela was captured. Now, those are two unique attractions. So because of my location and also my interest in those icons, that helped me maintain my USP, compete in a male-dominated arena, and also competing in a male-dominated arena, I have the support of my brothers who have all their coaches. So it's very easy to be able to progress a lot in the tourism industry when you have this kind of support.
Right, right. Yeah, these certainly have been two icons. And you mentioned about Pietermaritzburg. You take me back 50 years when I read Tales of Two Cities in English literature in school. And it was a unique story of South Africa built around Pietermaritzburg. But coming back, yeah, so, you know, Tales of Two Cities is a book and a novel which is embedded in my mind, and the struggle for freedom at that stage. But coming back, Gandhi and Mandela, again, are two icons which need no introduction. And I think it's not only South Africans and Indian which say, can you name two global or five global personalities? Even if you asked an American, I'm sure either Gandhi or Mandela would figure out in them, for sure. But, you know, this footsteps of the two, so you have special programs built around it, or how does it work?
Yes, we have special programs. We forged alliances with specific partners like the Phoenix settlement, where right. Gandhi's granddaughter, Ila Gandhi, she oversees that area. So the Phoenix settlement is one of our partners, Kwamuhle Museum, and Otlanga Institute, where Mandela cast his first vote. Very, very historical place. And after he cast his first vote, you have in the same location the burial site of John Dube, who was the first president of the ruling party, the ANC, and Mandela had to walk across to the burial site to go and declare to John Dube that we are finally free. And then you come into those are in Durban, and in Pietermaritzburg, you have the railway station, which needs very little introduction to the world. But more importantly, 5 minutes away from the railway station is Project Gateway, where Kasturba Gandhi was imprisoned for 3 months.
Right.
Then you have the Arya Samaj Hall, where Mandela gave his last speech. Before he was imprisoned, and the Mandela capture site. So these are unique stakeholders that support us in whatever programs that we do. And that clustering assists in marketing the whole program, but in a historical and in an authentic way. So we have a small little coach that is fully branded with the story of Gandhi and Mandela on it. We have young tour guides who are trained as freedom route specialists, and you will be able to explore this route with the tour guides. And they bring in a lot of fun also. So history doesn't mean that it must be very boring. History has to be interesting, because very often one would say, you look at Gandhi, you look at him, at how India or the world sees him. But we were very fortunate. We had the young Gandhi, the arrogant Gandhi, the egotistical Gandhi, the suave British Gandhi who dressed so smart. And that's the story that the young people impart. So we say the youngsters, there was a young man who left India who was very, involved in how he liked to look good. Then you had a young man like Mandela, who left his home and came to seek his fortune in the Johannesburg area. So the young people can start relating to them. And then we say, right, you find the Gandhi in you find the Mandela in you, so that they don't have to look at this old Buddha. Because sometimes younger people forget that these icons were young at one stage.
Yes.
And it's up to us to showcase that.
Yeah. Talking about younger people, I must share also with the younger audience that I followed the 1970 cricket series between South Africa and Australia, where South Africa had the best world team and whipped the Australians out 5-0 in that series, till of course it went into apartheid, and then for Africa to come back into world cricket and being what it is. And of course, having played the first game with India to come out of isolation. So South Africa has amazing sporting history, not only of cricket, but rugby, and youngsters probably would need to know as they go forward. But yeah.
Absolutely. Just Ashish, and I wanted to tell you, on the sporting arena, John T. Rhodes,
Yeah,
that
John T.
India
again.
loves,
We love it.
also comes from Petermaritzburg.
Right. Oh, yeah.
His mother was Kiasha's teacher.
All right. I hope Kaisha can do a wee bit of fielding on the field as he did. But yes, an amazing personality. I actually met him, and I actually watched him play in Calcutta many years ago when he'd made his debut at the Eden Gardens. But coming back to the audience, there is a huge diaspora we know in South Africa of Indian PIO and NRI. So do you think there is a sustainable way to get a return to roots campaign for people to come into India? They come into India, I know, but it's not a really structured way of discovering your roots. Do you think there would be a cause to do that for Indian government and for South African government?
Absolutely. There is definitely a need for that. That is a big gap in the market, because my generation is very comfortable traveling into India, and but the younger generation that is more economically empowered and more global, they definitely need structured programs to come into India to discover their roots. So there definitely is a gap, without doubt.
I thought as much. In fact, on one of the platforms, I did suggest that to the government of India and the tourism. Yes, I hope some activity would take place. But lastly, of course, let's again get back to the youngsters, and that there is a lot being spoken about startups and travel technology driven startups. As far as India is concerned, I also believe that where we have had the first wave of startups earlier, and we have had some very successful startup. Make My Trip, for example, has been a startup. Little do we know at some stage, and even then we had a second round. But what I see today is that startup 3.0, according to me, in the Indian market post-COVID, is going to be a different, because everybody's been leveled down. So everybody is a startup. So to me, even an established company, if they were to do something which is innovative, move from the ordinary, that itself would be a startup. And with the penetration of internet, you know how well spread out India is. And today, internet has penetrated all our lives. It's been one of the largest users of internet bandwidth. How do you see this panning out in South Africa and the African market totally? And again, is there a need to guide and mentor these guys to develop it? Because lastly, what I want to add, one of the most, and startups don't realize it. We talk about funding, we talk about costs, where they're well aware of funding and costs, etc. But what they don't realize that time is the biggest cost. So they spend a lot of time doing research and development in the travel, whether they should do this or they should do that, least realizing that there are mentor and guides from whom you can pick up that experience and you can go to the market faster. And that itself is a huge bonus for anybody, including collaboration. So how would you sum it up in South Africa? Do you share the same perspective? A word for Kaisha probably, because she's part of a mentor board, which one is trying to drive.
Ashish, pre-COVID, I must say that I didn't realize how social media and technology was going to play such a vital role in our lives in the last 9 months. And in the midst of COVID, I came to find out that these startups are brilliant. The platform you guys provide is excellent because you brought inaccessible markets to the startup businesses. People had no entrepreneurs and people didn't have an idea that they could network and link so easily with people. So the opportunities have become so great. You've broadened people's minds. COVID has opened the business playing fields totally. And this is where your startups will definitely need to use the new technology platforms. It's just one needs much more marketing, personalized introductions, but there is huge scope for it, especially in Africa. I'm finding that I'm working a lot in East Africa and West Africa with younger people, and they are becoming so technologically savvy, and they definitely also see the need to network, to contact, to connect, and to do business in the real lifetime. And so this kind of opportunity that COVID has given your startup mentorship board and your techno-savvy people, it's given them a real advantage. It will kickstart and it will push people so much more quicker instead of going into the normal conventional method of doing your research and finding your solutions. People live in the real life now time, and that's where they're conducting business. And so I think that you will be solving a huge problem by supporting people in this arena because the platform is vital. It's just, it's not a matter of time. People want it now. They need, this is the lifeline for them recovering from COVID.
Right.
And
right.
I think that your presence in the market for the younger entrepreneur is going to help boost them to, as I said before, to connect with partners in inaccessible markets.
Wonderful to talk to you today, and amid all these festivities, Bunny, and for you to have spared the time. And if you ask me, after being in the industry for 41 years, if I was to rework and reinvent myself in any particular geographical market, it would have to be Africa. I would love to, even at this stage in life, seize opportunities of how I can work and connect with audience in Africa and help them in any way together. Thank you again. I appreciate you coming in, Bunny, and hopefully we will reconnect in better times.
Thank you very much, Ashish, for having me, and Karthik. And I would like to wish you everything of the best for 2021 and enjoy this week of festivities in the midst of keeping safe. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks so much.
Karthik, you have something to wind up?
No, I think she has covered already so much. Maybe two lines of advice, Bunny, if you have, because a lot of MSMEs who work with us and who are part of the audience, they always, look at South Africa and the African market with a lure in their eyes, but they don't know like where to start. Many people believe that unless you have strong local tie-ups and partnerships, it's very difficult continent to work in. Many people have a lot of apprehensions and misconceptions. Do you want to give them a summary of ideas and in terms of where to start so that they are not overwhelmed by the opportunity, but they also feel that it's too difficult to see that opportunity? So maybe if you can demystify it for them a bit.
I think the tourism boards are so proactive. In India, that's all the tourism boards in South Africa. In addition, we have many trade shows, tourism trade shows, where people can connect. And also now there are virtual trade shows. So that would be your first point of call. And of course, one would always look for the champions in different countries. There are associations that have champions that live and breathe and dream and eat the highlights of their countries. And those are the people one should utilize their skills and their networks to connect to like-minded people for whoever that they will want to engage in. Africa is absolutely fascinating. We have such magnificent attractions. You can climb Kilimanjaro, you can swim down the River Nile into Uganda, you can fly over Victoria Falls, and you can watch the animals, the lions in Kruger National Park. Just a brief overview of Africa, but this is what entices and keeps the gleam in the young travelers' eyes. But the partners are very ready to find packages, are excellent. And now, especially with COVID, the tourism boards are really reaching out to people in extraordinary ways. They would like to forge alliances. They're looking for representation at certain stages to partner and promote, of course, on a very serious note. But I think the playing fields have become very interesting now in this situation. So I think, Karthik, Africa is open and waiting. The African continent is absolutely exciting, very different from the other continents in the world. And we look forward to having you here in Africa. And Ashish, a special invite to you. Do come to Pietermaritzburg. If 50 years ago you read The Tale of Two Cities, you need to make that reality. So a special invitation from me. Come and we will host you in
Thank
Pietermaritzburg.
you, Bunny. I appreciate it. And my favorite author remains Wilbur Smith, another African.
Absolutely.
I've read each and every book of his.
Are you sure you're not a partially African?
Maybe.
Since you have such good information, such good ties and energies about Africa.
Great.
On that note, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bunny ji, for being with us. Really appreciate. I think this was one of the most liveliest session we had over the last few weeks. Thank you for bringing in so much of positive energy and vibes in this festive season. Really appreciate it. And thanks, Ashish, as always. And thank you, our audience, for joining in. We'll see you next week again. Till then, have a great new year. And we'll see you probably now in next new year only. Warm wishes to you, Bunny ji, and your entire family. And we look forward to hopefully see you in Africa sometime next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy your coffee, Ashish.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
Karthik.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.